entitled Times. Sometimes I want to sleep. Sometimes I write deep. Sometimes I write with no end because my inspiration is awakened by the trees. Awakened when I breathe. Awakened when I feel free. Sometimes I eat like there's no tomorrow, and that was today. And sometimes, for lack of a brain, I start for days, because in life I've had micro hits and bruises, all consequences of what I choose is later brought full circle, finishing the portrait. And sometimes I feel fit, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I love, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I help, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm sad, angry, and frustrated, and sometimes in life I'm too fixated on the things that don't matter and the things that shouldn't mind. And half the time making up my mind gets me nowhere but further blind to the facts and truths of life that should lead my way. Too blind to see, too deaf to hear, too numb to feel God's way. If only I could live in absolutes, I'd be absolutely sure what to do and what to expect. But then I guess I'd be God, correct? Me if I'm wrong, but I've thought long and hard about it. And my life is not exactly perfect, but perfectly imperfect, the way it should be, because sometimes I don't know exactly who to be. Sometimes I don't think, and sometimes I don't speak, and sometimes I'm on the brink of madness and I reach the peak. Sometimes I fail, and sometimes I cry, and sometimes I wonder what it's like to die, because sometimes I'm scared, and sometimes I fall, and sometimes I wish I was really tall. Sometimes I stink of odor and sweat, and sometimes I have only regrets, because sometimes I lose, and sometimes I cheat, and sometimes I wish I was never neat. Because sometimes I'm laughed with, and sometimes I'm laughed at. And sometimes I wish I never killed that poor cat, you see? Because sometimes I look at the future and what it holds, and sometimes I'm shy, and sometimes I'm bold, and sometimes I feel really, really cold, both physically and in spirit. Cold like my heart's empty with nothing in it. But sometimes I'm good. No, I'm great. Sometimes I just leave it up to fate. Because sometimes I'm humble, and sometimes I'm funny, and sometimes I wish I'll never have money. Sometimes I'm noble, faithful, and trustworthy, and sometimes in life, and sometimes I might be just a bit wordy / loud. And that just means that sometimes I'm proud, or that I just like to talk a lot. Sometimes I feel like I'm on top of the world, and sometimes I cherish life like a precious pearl. Never want to lose it, but willing to get it scratched. Because sometimes I charge, and sometimes I fly, and sometimes I feel like I'm the guy. Sometimes I'm happy, don't even know why, because I always know he's on my side. And not always, but sometimes I go with the tide. Sometimes I win, and sometimes I rise, and sometimes I like to stare in her eyes. And sometimes I have to choose where to go, and sometimes I go down the wrong road. So in order to make up for all those lost times, all those times I followed those shiny road signs, I finally decided to follow the path, the one that is darkened, uneven with wrath. For although the walk might be shadowed and dim, although the trek might be scary and grim, I know the end is better than best. The end is where I'll finally find rest. For although in this world I was hurled, I must remember I have all the time in the world.